pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. And I'll note for the record that all board members are present. Good morning. and Thank you. Okay, we'll go into our agenda, our administrative portion. I move the approval of the minutes from the May 23rd, 2023 board meeting.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. It's so ordered. Thank you. I move the acknowledgement of the Secretary of State Directive 2023-11, revised form of the ballot for the August 8th, 2023 special election.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. I move the acknowledgement of municipal ward boundaries and corresponding precinct boundaries for Westlake and Olmsted Township.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Director Pilati, would you enlighten us on this
Yes,
latest iteration of ward boundary changes?
so to the best of my knowledge, for 2023, these should be the last boundary adjustments that we have to do until I would say redistricting, which is different, and then the city of Cleveland still needs to do the similar process, but that will probably be a 2025 process. So with that, there's two municipalities, they're in their different situations. Westlake is like what we've done thus far. Ward boundary changes approved by council. We get those, we go ahead, we fit the precincts into their new ward boundaries. We can send that back out to the clerk of council and the mayor at a meeting of the council. They took a look, they had no comments, they are in agreement with what we have done with that. So Westlake is in a good position for that. Mike West will work with their communications departments and their council, their ward newsletters to make sure that they get the word out, because Westlake has a pretty good portion of their residents being reassigned.
50%.
Yeah,
It's a lot of fun.
so Mike has started some of those efforts already with like North Olmsted, who I don't think it's a contest they wanted to win, but I think they have the biggest percentage of individuals being reassigned. And so he will be doing that. The other is Olmsted Township, and that is one that they don't have wards, they only have precincts, and just in a review of our boundaries, as you've heard throughout this whole process, 1,400 is the statutory maximum that a precinct can have as far as registered voters in it. There's a portion, the southern portion of Olmsted Township, in which massive development, they're putting in all kinds of housing developments in that area. And it had taken the registered voter count up to 1,800, so 400 above where it needed to be. John Eddy, looking at what he could do as far as reassignment, was able to reassign voters without creating an additional precinct and get the numbers where it's a reasonable number of voters. I don't think anyone is over 1,300, and so it keeps the numbers of precincts the same. But it gets this new area that was under a residential development in line with state law. They have three trustees. It's a township, and I had emailed to the finance director and the trustees, spoke to one of the trustees, and they understood. They said, yes, it's a booming, they're excited about the development that's going on, and they understand what we had to do and are in agreement with that.
And they'll help the word will be getting out too.
Yes,
In the same way.
yes.
Thank you. We do have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion from the board? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, aye? The ayes have it. Thank you. On to ballot. I move the approval to outsource the printing of vote by mail ballots for the September 12th, 2023 primary election and the November 7th, 2023 general election.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. It is so ordered. Thank you. On the candidate and petition services, I move the acknowledgement of the following candidate withdrawal. Richard Trojansky, nonpartisan Maple Heights member of council District 6.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. I move the certification of candidates in the September 2023 primary election as listed in our board packet.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion? Yes,
Sure, I just want to draw out that the withdrawal of Richard Krasinski was a deficient petition in which he withdrew and he refiled. And that's why you see his name
Oh,
on
that's it.
this certification also for September 12th.
Thank you for the record. So he withdrew from
Right,
for sufficient.
before the filing
Before the
deadline.
filing.
Correct. He
Yeah.
withdrew before the filing deadline for a deficient petition, filed a timely new petition, which is sufficient.
Therefore, he will appeal the house. Okay, thank you for that
Thanks for
clarification.
that.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. I move the certification of candidates nominated without primary election to the November 7th, 2023 general election. Primaries eliminated per the revised code 3513.02. And these names are also listed in the packet.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. I move the certification of candidates to the November 7th, 2023 general election as listed in our board packet.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Thank you. Election officials. I move the authorization to pay 290 voting location managers in the grand total of $79,750. 314 voting location deputies for a grand total of $86,350. 3,264 precinct election officials for a grand total of $816,000 and 150 election substitute officials for a grand total of $15,000.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any unreadiness on the motion?
Just to comment, so we are gonna get almost $1 million in just election workers for this August election.
Yes,
That doesn't include any other costs. This is just for the election.
that is correct. So, and so typically poll workers are our biggest cost, and for a countywide, it's about $1 million per election.
Okay. Yeah, my minutes maybe are.
Yes, 997,100. So we're close.
Close.
We'll round up.
Yeah, it's always a little questionable. but-
You're within the ballpark. Okay, any unreadiness on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. Election support. I move the authorization to process payment in the amount not to exceed $47,660, $47,660 for 93 private voting locations, 4 CMHA properties, and 1 zone station being used for the August 8th, 2023 special election.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any unreadiness? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. Fiscal services, we're going to ask Ms. Walker. The chair will recognize you, and the floor, ma'am, is yours. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This was requesting authority to enter the contract with the Martin Live for our remote ballot marketing contract. We did a bid, request a bid put out. We received 2 responses, one from the Martin Live, which is our lowest one response to this request, and the other was from Enhanced Voting LLC.
And what this product is, the software. This is required by the Secretary of State's office. And this is where if an individual has a disability such as being sight impaired, they are able to request through a special application for the Board of Elections to email them an electronic ballot, which then they're able to use the tools that they have on their home computer to go ahead and mark the ballot. They then will need to print the ballot and mail it back to us. And so this is also one of those 3 categories of certified election equipment through Secretary of State's office and the Board of Voting Machine Examiners, voting equipment, electronic poll books, and this remote ballot marking. So only those vendors who are certified in Ohio, there's only 5, and typically only 2 or 3. They're not this Moxie Live they were our current vendor. Our contract expired. They've been able to provide us with our product, and they will also be able to, as we migrate the clear ballot that they'll be able to work with that software to be able to produce this ballot.
That's a good question.
Please.
All right, so the other vendor, Enhanced, what was it called?
Can't vote.
Do we get a recap? We used to get a recap of the bids in here. Did I just miss it? I think all we have is the resolution and then the contract. We don't have a recap of
It's
the
not,
bid results.
yeah.
Can we get that going forward, just so we are able to compare? Do we know in what ways was the second bidder
Yeah, so
deficient, other than by way of price, but they certified by?
They're
BGME?
certified.
Okay.
And we actually used them for 1 year.
Oh,
They came in low, but then they kind of gone back high again. And Sean Keita does have the numbers.
yes,
Okay.
the Mark July will came in at 9,950. Enhanced came in at 17,600.
Wow, big difference. But just, could we include the recap for any of the contract awards, so we can just see? Thank you.
Thank you. I will move the approval of the contract and resolution for Democracy Live as our vendor.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. The ayes have it, it's ordered. Thank you, Ms. Walker. And our personnel agenda, I will move the approval of our personnel agenda, the promotion of Jenny A. Velez Harris for Program Coordinator, Election Support Department, to Assistant Manager, Election Support Department, effective July 2nd, 2023.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is so ordered. Thank you, Director Berlotti, new business.
All right, actually, Deputy Director Calder is going to take the first one on the update, and I'll take the other 2 items.
Well, thank you. We are currently 47 days away from the August 8th election. The staff is very busy preparing for that election. The voter guide is currently in production and will be going out in the mail to voters later next week. The ballot department currently has Clear Ballot on site, and they will be here all week, and they are assisting with the coding of the ballot. They are also proofing the ballot, and as far as vote by mail applications, they have currently processed almost 6,500 applications. Just for comparison, a year ago in the August 2022 election, they had received about 1,000 at this point. But in November 2022, 48 days before the election, it was up to 89,000. So, and of course, the Secretary of State had mailed out applications for that one. So again, back to our estimates, anywhere from 10% to 50% turnout, this Thursday is the public view of the ballots. And this Friday, we have 86 UOCAVA voters, and the ballots will be sent out on Friday. Election support, they have completed all their EDA assessments, and all 291 locations are locked in for this election. They've been real busy. We've been receiving our new transport carts, where the bags and materials going out to the polling locations. Before, we had those what we call the TSX cards, which were open bed ones. Now we, as part of our new ancillary purchase funds that the county have provided, they're enclosed, caged carts that bags can fit in there. It can be locked, and it's very similar to what you might see on a cruise ship, where they move the baggage around. So they've been very busy with that, transporting all our voting booths onto these new carts too. Our poll worker department has been very busy. You might notice some of the tables and the equipment throughout the building. In the evenings, this building becomes a training center, and whether it's the circled area in there or 4th floor or the main floor, they have training sessions going on. It is hands-on with the new voting equipment. That is part of the requirements of the Secretary of State's office, but the staff has created easy to use quick reference guides to help voters to process to work with the new equipment.
Tony, and I saw in the notice that the training was moved up here from the 3rd floor. Is that because we're getting carpeting down there, or?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was part of it.
Okay. It's just we need more space, or?
Well, and I think this is a good room to
Yeah.
be used for training, and they were using it all along as well.
Oh, okay.
And they've trained almost about 20% of the workers thus far, and they're on pace to complete the training. Candidate services, tonight is going to be a campaign finance seminar. They currently have over 70 candidates registered for that seminar. HR department and registration are working together to prepare for the state petition that state 1 or 2, we don't know yet, but we're expecting a state petition after the 4th of July. So we are currently also trying to recruit temporary workers, seasonal workers to come in and help us process those petitions. Community outreach at the end of this month, they will be conducting 6 voter education events throughout the county. They'll be highlighting the new voting equipment. They're going to be having actual units where people can see it and touch it. But the main message is no fear. I mean, as far as the voter experience, it's going to be the same. They're going to get a paper ballot. They're going to fill in the ovals as they always did. It's just going to be a different machine that they slide it into. But on the other side, for us, as far as processing audits, things like that, the equipment will be more modern and have many more modern capabilities. As far as the ADA equipment for persons with disabilities, it will be an improvement. As the technology is 20 years newer, it's going to be much easier for them to use and interact with.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Where will the community outreach event be?
There are a list of cities. Yeah, so
Are they posted, or can you just send us?
we will be sending that out as they.
So Mike's trying to lock it in, but it's 2 Cleveland rec centers. It is and it's going to be, I believe, 4 libraries.
Chair will recognize Mr. West.
Right.
Mike West, manager of the outreach department. The good news is we got our 4 libraries in the 4 corners of the county locked in. We're still waiting to hear back from the Cleveland Recreation Department for the 2 locations we picked. Harvard Garage is going to be kind of central, and that's where the ADA demonstration is going to be. So we just kind of put the plan together within the last week. Once we lock down the locations, it's full speed ahead, publicity and the like, and making all the practical arrangements.
And in addition to the new voting equipment, Mike will also be educating voters on the changes in election law from House Bill 458 as far as photo ID and so forth. So it'll be a combined presentation.
Wonderful.
So that's pretty much it. Postal registration is July 10th. Early in-person voting and vote by mail ballots will be mailed out on July 1. So
Thank you.
I just want to add 2 quick things. One is yesterday, the Secretary of State signed all 88 counties revised ballot language for August. There was there's 3 bullets in that ballot language, and the 3rd bullet was an older version of the language and not the new language that was agreed to by the ballot board on June 13th. So all the counties are in the position of relaying out the ballot and need to do some additional proofing to get it in line. So we are fortunate in that we have a Brian Cleary who, and he has a department. So when I say that, but having him there, he will be able to work with Clear Ballot to get these changes. So we will have that correct language so we can get approved in time for Friday, which is UOCAVA.
I'm sorry, did the language didn't have to go back to the court to be approved?
Not, excuse me, not unless somebody challenges it again.
Oh, okay.
It'll be but I don't think they were changing jurisdiction to.
They just said, fix the language, and there was no
Somebody else.
requirement to come back for it to be reviewed again.
It'd have to be a new.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, and this is, I guess this is one instance in which, because of the new equipment, if we were still in the ES&S world, we would have been much further down the line. Probably would have been testing equipment and done some, so, which means all that would have been for naught. So we're not at that point. I guess we're always trying to find the silver lining, as opposed to some of our colleagues in other counties, but I have 100% confidence that Brian and his team will get it across. And then just the other item is, I just want to do a shout out to Becky Brake, who right now probably is the most stressed employee in this agency. We haven't had to figure out new training of equipment since 2009. And it's definitely different when you're rolling that out. So just trying to have everybody in person on an expedited schedule and training things that we're learning at the same time. So just want to give her kudos. So she doesn't, so she keeps coming back there. So, all right. With that, and again, her team too, have been doing great, but she's the leader of that team. The update on the new operation centers is, so Tony and I, with our fiscal representative fiscal, whether it was Sean Kita or Patrick McAlay, visited 4 locations with County Public Works and the real estate firm that the county has under contract to help us go through that process. It was the Plain Dealer building on 18th and Superior, a warehouse on East 72nd, Reserve Square, which is on 12th and Superior, and St. Vincent Charity Hospital. All very different. And I'm glad that we did these walkthroughs because I think it brought a whole lot of clarity to the process. And they're definitely, and Tony, and in my view, is one that is far above the others. And that is the Plain Dealer building on 18th and Superior. It is something where it needs the least amount of work to be ready for us, and it's nice, and it has parking that is its own parking that it controls versus having to count on some other things. And
It's your loading dock, I'm assuming.
it has a loading dock. Right now,
Yeah.
Elevators at work.
well, they do have a lot of elevators to work, and what they also have is the ability for us to have that equipment on the first floor, so the elevators can just be for people. As opposed to.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens July.
So what is the process? I mean, can somebody nab that, assuming that that's the one you guys believe is most operationally appropriate? Can we say, hey, that we want this, or we have to go through some,
Right.
nobody can steal it from us? I mean, not steal it from
Well,
us, but I mean,
I mean,
if we get first dibs, I mean, I hate
We're
to
good.
get our sights set, hey, this would be the perfect building, then all of a sudden, oh, that's off the table somehow.
No, I hear you. So we had July 7th is we have, is the next meeting that Tony and I, along with Sean Kita, will go down to the county administration building. We will do, my understanding is we'll do a recap of everything we saw. We will definitely comes in with our pros and cons from our viewing of each of those locations. Where some buildings, say like the one I just spoke about, has a really big pro list, and there's another building that has an equally con list to make sure that, because I'm not gonna, this agency won't be forced to go into a building that isn't better than what we currently have. This doesn't make absolutely no sense. So we'll see how that goes. That's gonna be a really, I think, very informative meeting, because now we've gone through the proposals, we physically have walked through these sites, and we know, and now it's just a matter of, hey, how do we make this happen? And then what is we are the government, what's the bureaucracy to get through, and county council and the county executive, get everybody on board with this location.
But again, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that, I mean, we're going through the process, and I understand there is a process. I just think if we can get some assurance that we didn't just waste our time looking at these 4 buildings. If the one, something is going, were these dedicated, or these are the 4 potential places you can go Board of Elections. Or is there an opportunity for something to get taken out? I think we need to pin people down if we can, to say, of the 4, you can pick one of the 4, and absolutely, there's not going to be any change, because I don't want to get all our hopes.
I know,
Have high hopes around a particular building, even with our formal assessment, and then somebody say, oh gee, we slated that now for something else. I'm just saying, we need to get out in front of something like that if we can.
I definitely agree.
And also too, unique needs of this agency and public access availability, parking, all the things you're looking at, the loading dock, the elevators, people coming in to vote early. I mean, these are things that obviously this agency knows we need. So it sounds like the county council or county is open to our input of location. Yes, it sounds like,
Yes,
okay, that's very good.
they are, and I think, and Sean Kita could probably back me up, I actually think that the Plain Dealer building came in as the most economical building.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Yes, which I was,
On their head out back out there.
yeah, so I was nervous about that, but that actually is,
Is that the newer build, the
it
newest
is
of the
it's the
building?
newest of the building.
We talk about police. There one.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Is there any that you would eliminate out of the form? Would that be communicated?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think,
Equally important.
yeah,
We don't want this.
after and so this is my opinion. I think Tony probably would support this. But if not, that's okay too. East 72nd Street is, all it is a shell. It needs
The warehouse?
a ton of work. They need to build a parking lot.
Yeah.
They need to build a
Oh.
20,000 square foot second floor addition, the whole second
Wow.
floor. And this, you'd have to get a structural engineer in there. They want to
Oh,
pour
my goodness.
a 4-inch concrete pad on that whole second floor because the wood floor is not there. That's a heavy load.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, there's that, and then I was very intrigued with St. Vincent Hospital, but after doing the walkthrough, and this is one of the benefits of the walkthrough, very chopped up. And so there's kind of, you gotta go some underground walkways to go from this part to the next part, and
It's 6 floors and we work in departments. We don't have people in individual silos type of thing. So I think for our needs, I mean, it has potential for other purposes, but again, like you said, the Board of Elections has very specific type needs that, we need a structure that will work as far as for functionality for the workers as well as for workers.
Right.
and so I would say plain dealer, and then potentially. It would be Reserve Square. I was pleasantly surprised with it. However.
Where's the parking?
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
Yeah.
So, but that's the
That's a big
caveat,
problem.
is so that the garage, we would probably get 200 spots in there, which would be okay for employees.
Right.
But what would have to be included in the lease, which currently is not, is right on 13. There's a City of Cleveland, I think it's 167 spot parking lot. That would have to be part of the lease. It'd have to be the Board of Elections to even consider it. And that's a big if, and that wasn't any part of it. So you take.
Is that across from where the Greyhound station used to be? You kinda
It's-
get a-
Yes, it's right west of the Greyhound
Okay.
station, and then it's south of, I don't know if you know what Bottom Tower is, right on the corner. Yeah, but that's a big if. So you take that, really, it comes down to, there's one. And that one is, while you need to do some cosmetics and things like that, it's the most move-in ready of all the options.
And that city lot is just the beginning, because in the
Yeah.
presidential, we're gonna need a lot more parking than just that, so.
So, yeah, even though there's a process, if we know that that's really the best building for us, if we could figure out a way to expedite, cut through the chase and say, hey, this is the building that's gonna work for us. So we don't have to get dragged down and, or slow costs down that. Okay, well, we need to go do this, due diligence. Is there any other due diligence that needs to be done on these 4 buildings?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I think it's a matter of the county real estate agent working with the property owner on whatever that kind of, I guess, the terms of the build outs and this and that with there. But, I mean,
But that would come after we all agree, this is the building we're getting, and they can figure out the timing of the building months, right?
Yeah.
yes,
I just would say if that's what seems to make sense, then let's get the building.
Yeah, because- and one of the things.
Okay, beat a dead horse.
But here, I think this is, and it all depends, because we all want this to move quickly, and if the county were to move very quickly, in my head. I guess people can prove me wrong, but potentially, if this moved quick enough, this November, you could do early in-person voting in that building. Now, it wouldn't be the final setup that you would
Right.
have for next year, but it's of a state where we could bring tables and stuff. It has access to the IT infrastructure that we need, which would alleviate that we are anticipating to be a very well attended November 2023 election, that we would have that parking available and that building for there.
Well, that sounds like a really good argument to expedite the process.
There you go. So
Would this be a lease?
it'd be a lease.
They lease, you're not gonna purchase.
The county would, I think, at some point would entertain purchasing it. And I think what they would probably want, and this would be part of the negotiation, I guess, is kind of what they have with Pally. The ability to lease to own. So this way, you're leasing it and all the build out and that is built into the lease. And so that comes through the landlord or property manager, whatever it is. So there is, I will say, but I don't think this is something we would need to be concerned about. The fourth floor of that building has a nonprofit, forget what it's called, that is there and they're under a lease. But
That's CEOGC?
so they,
Do we know the term? We don't know the terms of the lease or
I
anything.
think it's like 5 years, but there's a separate bank of elevators that they can access that would be unique to them. And they would have access to NAR. So with card access and things like that, we would be.
They
able
could still reside, they could still
Yes,
stay there.
we could live together and not even really, other than passing in the parking lot, would never really cross their paths.
I assume, would we use that space once they moved out? Would there be a need?
I don't think we would. I think eventually, if they were to move out, I could foresee the county trying to bring another county agency up there, because minus that, it's about 180,000 square feet, which is what we need. And that's minus the fourth floor. And I don't remember if that's another, I don't even know, 40,000 or so type thing.
Those are their administrative. I used to represent them on full disclosure here, so it's a great organization and they have great leadership over there, so. Yeah, I don't know, you don't know what they're planning. I don't represent them now, but I'm just saying that. It's a good organization, so, but I think that's their administrative office. They don't have any, they don't run programs out of there and other sites, other places.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
So that's where we are with that. And so I obviously will continue to keep you updated with where we are on that. This
Very
is,
exciting.
yeah, so this isn't part of that process, but the carpet did come up and today, supposedly they should lay the last portion of the second floor. If you happen to, when you go down today, if you just stick your head out on floor 2, you'll see what a difference. So that's nice. As far as, I think that the contractor, I think we've been living well with them. And that's worked out well on Thursday, because they pretty much do 4/10s. So Monday through Thursday night. So on Thursday, they should come up in the 4/3. So, and part of that change is while the carpet hasn't started on the 3rd floor, there used to be this gigantic counter, Henry knows, the horseshoe. Stop down, it's ripped out.
Yeah.
So now we had, it looks like a football field down there, but we wanted that part done before we started doing the carpet. So things are going well with that carpet and night and day. Okay, Secretary of State Public Integrity Division. This is that one of the new units the Secretary of State has to help with further investigation of items related to election integrity. And so Tony has been talking with the manager of that division in regards to East Cleveland. And that would be appropriate for them to go ahead and do an additional investigation based on what we did. So we know we had our hearing here, but we don't know when the two brothers, like when did they actually move out of that home and things like that. The mother said they're not there, but is that new or has that been around? And so this is a type of unit where we should do some additional looking into that before we would send something to the prosecutor's office. So what we are doing is putting together some additional information. So we have the packet that was for the residency hearings and now taking some of the information we learned through those hearings, some of the testimony and who we sent subpoenas to and didn't respond and those types of items. And so at our next meeting, we would come before you asking for a motion to refer the information to the Public Integrity Division for them to do additional research. And so that's working on the logistics. That's what Tony's Michael Brewer is the person in the Secretary of State's office. He said, yeah, that would be appropriate. And this content is appropriate for them to go ahead and give us some additional information. Along with that, will also come forward. There's some registration, not East Cleveland, but it's a registration drive called Black Fork. They've been working in the state for a little while now, and multiple counties have come up with some issues, such as potentially registration cards coming in from people who are deceased. So we will have a list of names of some of these types of items that the registration department is working on, that we would also have that. Would be separate, but we would ask for the same thing for going down to the Secretary of State's office to look a little bit further into that. So want to anticipate that for our next board meeting. And then the other thing is I just, obviously today we took some motions on September. And so September is just 2 wards, 1 ward in Garfield Heights, which is 2 precincts for a council seat, and 1 ward in Maple Heights, which is also 2 precincts. So we have 4 precincts that will be in the September election. And both are nonpartisan, and so we'll go ahead and we'll execute. What we will do is, because of the size of that, we'll do a lot of things in-house, such as the delivery of voting equipment. We'll handle that. Well, we won't hire rovers. Next staff will be the rovers. We might hire a couple poll workers, but we're going to try to, and it all depends on where we are preparing for November, but we're going to try to get some of our staff out there just to see how the new equipment works on election day, the provisional table and those types of items. Brian Cleary is going to try to print the election day ballots with our on-demand printers and the vote by mail. While we took an action to outsource it, we're going to attempt to try to do that ourselves too. And if not, then we'll go ahead and call on Midwest to cover that. So, it's small enough where I think we can try some of those things out and see what will happen.
I just had a question on it. So for the Secretary of State Public Integrity Division, will we be looking in each individual instance when something comes up to determine if it goes there first, or where we would normally refer to the process, or think we might refer to the prosecutor's office? Is this now going to take the place we would just, as a general rule, refer to the Public Integrity Division, or do we have to make some assessment? Like, it sounds like we made some assessment here, but maybe this is just because we're just doing it the first time.
Yeah.
I just want to find it so the prosecutor's office may be well relieved now that that's something off your plate, that as a practical matter, all of the referrals or questioning issues that we're questioning would then go to the Public Integrity Division first, not to the prosecutor's office.
Yeah, I think with anything, case by case,
Okay.
but I think probably more, we'll see. This isn't something that happens a whole heck of a lot,
No.
but I think more times than not, maybe it would first take a trip down to the state's office,
Okay.
just because, I don't want to speak
Yeah.
for Mark, but they don't have a lot of investigative staff available
Sure.
for these types of items, where the Secretary of State, not that he has a lot of other staff, but his staff is more focused, where they're doing a wide range of investigations.
Right, yeah, and I think it's an interaction between the board and the Secretary of State, because I think the board has a duty to investigate potential violations of
Right.
the Title 35. But if we could help somebody that specializes in that type of investigation, has the resources to do it, to put a package together, makes it a lot easier for my office to
Okay.
make an
It
assessment.
does sound like that's probably the go-to the Secretary of State office. That makes sense. Yeah, unless, maybe clear violation for. Okay. Thank you.
I didn't have anything else unless there's questions.
No more questions. Well, there is something else. It's not printed, so
Yeah.
we will take our liberties here. We're gonna call Betty Grant Edwards to the front, please. And ask her to come forth. And Robin, if you would get the cameras ready.
Can you adjust that to come forward with a smile?
Yes. You're on camera, Betty. We are celebrating Betty Edwards. Come way to the middle. So let me read this resolution, and we're asked Shay Hawkins too, if you would come up. Shay, if you would come. We're going to actually ask Shay to read his first, and then we'll do the board's last. And Shay Hawkins is representing Ohio Secretary of State's office and has a proclamation as well.
Alright.
Here.
Welcome, Shay.
Congratulations. Thank you. As you all know, Secretary Rose is absolutely deeply committed to every Ohioan being able to participate in our civic life in the state and in our economic life through registration of your businesses. And that civic piece, would not be possible without folks like Betty, just putting in so much work, a life of service to Americans. Even outside this country, she was serving us here in places like Germany and Turkey, all over the world. She did her undergrad at The Ohio State University, which is near and dear to my heart. and came here to join us, serve us for over 2 decades. So I just want to read this resolution from Secretary LaRose. It says, on behalf of the state of Ohio, I am pleased to extend a special and well-deserved recognition for your over 2 decades of incredible service with the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. This certificate of commendation is presented to you as a token of the state's gratitude and admiration for your exemplary work on behalf of your community. By serving on the front lines of democracy, you have helped ensure voters in Northeast Ohio were heard. As the Ohio Secretary of State, it is my honor and unique distinction to recognize and commend your more than 2 decades of service to the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. You've demonstrated a sincere commitment to serving your community, and I am grateful for the difference you have made. Oh, thank you so much.
You gotta get that one.
You already do that. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bronco. And we have another resolution that we want to present on behalf of the Board of Elections, a resolution upon the retirement of Betty Grant Edwards for her outstanding public service. On the occasion of your retirement following 21 years of service to the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. Whereas the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections recognizes, appreciates, and honors Betty Edwards for over 2 decades of public service to the voters of Cuyahoga County. And whereas Betty Edwards has earned the gratitude and respect of the voters of the Board of Elections for her outstanding performance and all of the positions she has undertaken at the Board of Elections that have included assistant to the deputy director, assistant manager in the booth officials, candidate and voter services department, and manager of the registration department. And whereas Betty Edwards is a shining example of a lifelong public servant who has worked in the field of medicine as an active member of her church, a volunteer in public schools for the Democratic Party of Cuyahoga County. And whereas her easygoing and caring attitude will be missed by staff and management as she is generous with encouragement, recognition, and praise. She rewards her dedicated staff by providing snacks on a daily basis and meals during election day.
That's nice.
And whereas Betty Edwards, and this is the most important part, is the proud mother of Bruce and Brian and the adoring grandmother of Brittany, BJ, and Ivory, she also treats her colleagues like her own extended family, always quick with a smile and to step up with help when it is needed. Whereas Betty Edwards is a world traveler, having spent time in many parts of Europe and elsewhere. Upon her retirement, she will have time to do more traveling and to achieve her goal of visiting Martha's Vineyard, spending time with her family and taking with them during her travels. It is therefore resolved that we, the chairman, board members, director, deputy director, and staff of the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections proclaim Betty Edwards a valuable asset, very special person, and friend who will be missed by the county of Cuyahoga. God bless you. And on behalf of the board, we want to present you with this. Board members, we could gather around Betty.
You know what, I had said,
I didn't want any of this. I wanted to go out the same way I came, very inconspicuous, beneath the radar. And after having my dental surgery yesterday, I thought, well, maybe I won't come in today, but something told me to come in.
Oh, no.
I'm glad I did.
Oh.
And I am so honored to have been the manager of the registration program. I am so honored to work with each and every one of you because your views, your commitments are there with me towards the voters in the state of Ohio. I am truly humbled right now. I truly am. Guys sitting out there, you got a lot of work to do. And you know what? You can do it because you're all true professionals. And I have enjoyed working with each and every one of you. And may God continue to bless you. And we will see These are mine.
Those are yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
We have already concluded that to be the first reader in our new building. She hasn't committed to it yet, but
Maybe if she's in town, maybe.
that's right. We won't give up.
Excellent. Again, thank you. I did not receive any requests for public comment, so hearing none, we will move beyond. We did not have any requests for executive session. Director, any other unfinished business?
Now, I just want to remind everybody, Secretary of State's conference next week, so we'll be down there. And I forgot a person I wanted to call out is Jessica King, Assistant Manager in the ballot department. She's actually going to be there on Monday, not as part of when we are there for ours, but for the new director and deputy director, although you might be involved in that, director, deputy director, and board members. She is going to be presenting a section. The Secretary of State reached out to us, and so we will, the great state of Cuyahoga will be teaching everybody else how to do it.
Good. My packet.
I mean,
I do-
Do we know?
We do have it. It starts on the 26th
Is this it?
for our section around 9 o'clock.
Our next meeting.
I think the next one.
Oh,
is July.
July.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, that's the next one, right?
yes.
Okay.
Monday, July 7th.
Here,
Thank
here
you.
you go. Awesome.
Any other stones unturned? Hearing none, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. It's so ordered. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.